Hello, good morning. I hope that you're all well and you've had a good fortnight. It's been 2 weeks since my last Flosstube video. Last weekend, Sue and I were at the Cross Stitch Guild and we had a fabulous time. We went up to London on Wednesday. We left very early in the morning because I had an appointment that I had to make in the afternoon. And then Wednesday night we ate out in the most amazing restaurant. It was just like going into an Italian opera house. The food was delicious and our waitress, who was dressed in a Roman toga, said to us, "You must go down into the ladies' toilet." And oh my God, was it worth a visit. Fabulous evening, fabulous food, and we talked about needlework on the 6-hour journey up to London. We talked about needlework over dinner, and then the next day we met up with Rebecca Scott from Whitney Antiques and Lamora Hayder from Access Commodities. We met them at Victoria train station, and then we jumped on a train and we went to visit a needlework friend who has the most amazing collection of reproduction samplers that she's stitched, but also antique samplers. And we had a wonderful time. We went around the collection and we listened to Rebecca talk for hours about different samplers, and then we went and had a very late lunch because we were late. And I tell you what, I could not tell you what we ate at lunch, but I could recount word for word all the stories that were going around the table about antique samplers, reproduction samplers, and silks and linen. It was an amazing day. When we had to leave, we got back on the train and went back into London, and then Becky had to go back to Oxford, but Lamora came with us, and we spent the evening together talking about silks and linens. And when I went to bed that night, I couldn't go to sleep because my head was whizzing around. On the Friday, we drove down to the hotel at Swindon, where the Cross Stitch Guild was holding their retreat, and it is also where the Great British Sampler Weekend is being held. So Sue and I had a meeting with the event coordinators, and then we had the fun of the weekend. On the Saturday, I gave a presentation, a talk about samplers, and I did a talk for the Cross Stitch Guild last year, and at the beginning of my talk I asked people to put their hand up who had stitched a reproduction sampler, and it was really only my friends on the table I was sat on that had stitched reproduction samplers. So I said that I was going to change that. So when I stood up to talk this year, I asked people to put their hands up, and you know what, I was so heartened to see a good show of hands. And next year, if I'm fortunate enough to be invited back to talk, I hope to see the vast majority of the room hold their hands up. Anyway, we had a wonderful, wonderful time. Andrea of the Cross Stitch Guild is delightful. If you're not a member, go to the Cross Stitch Guild's website and check out what they can offer to their members. Membership is very, very reasonable, and they do offer a lot. It's not reproduction sampler based, but it is cross stitch based, and I'm sure you'll enjoy browsing their website, and you might decide that you would like to join. They do have a magazine that comes out. Where have I put my magazine? I'm not sure how many times a year actually. It seems to come very often, and you get quite a substantial magazine that's always full of different things to stitch. There's always like lots of little patterns, and it's very newsy as well. And I suppose that if we, more and more people join the guild that stitch reproduction samplers, we might start seeing some reproduction sampler motifs and charts in this booklet to stitch. Oh, I tell you what I did love. There is a mattress pin cushion in here, or box pin cushion, and there's some very good finishing instructions in there from Jane Greenoff. Very enjoyable read. Okay, I did buy something else I could not resist, and it's this beautiful journal. It has a cross-stitched spine and little satin stitch rows on the edge, and then you've got this lovely twisted ribbon this side, and these journals are just absolutely delightful. They're made by Kate Bowles. I've had a look around the internet to see if I could find any of her journals for sale, but they do seem to be snapped up very, very quickly. And inside you've got assorted papers for your journal, and you've got like envelopes as well in there. I just thought this was absolutely fabulous. I'm very much a journal person. I love if I read an interesting sentence or a little interesting tidbit of information, I really like to jot it down and go back to it at some stages, maybe explore a little bit further, or maybe use the quote in one of our charts. For those of you who stitch Hands Across the Sea samplers, you know that at the bottom of our graph pages we always have a little quote, so that we can ponder on it whilst we're stitching on that page. This is the graph for Hannah Campbell, and you'll see there's little quotes at the bottom of each page. We have to talk about Hannah Campbell. I've been bursting to talk about her. It was just unfortunate that the first Sunday after the release I wasn't here to do a video. So here is Hannah Campbell. This is the model, and the model was exquisitely stitched by Melissa Coyle. Melissa lives in America, and she stitched several samplers for Hands Across the Sea samplers. She's a very valued member of our team. Gorgeous border. This border is so intricate, yet it's all cross stitch. Hannah had a wonderful eye for colour and design, and this little girl was not afraid of hard work. She covered every inch of her linen. There's a lot of motifs and stitching in this sampler. Quite a few things I want to talk to you about with Hannah, but I would like to show you the original now. Now it's a little bit heavy, so just bear with me. My back still isn't right from packing all those boxes. I think I've probably done a bit of permanent damage to my back. I have a spine that's crumbling, and I think it's crumbled a little bit more. Okay, you can see the difference with this glass not being non-reflective. So here we go with the original. Now, one of the things I really want to talk about are the windows in that house, and this flower head. You'll see that those windows have actually, over the cross stitches, have been some beads laid. Now, when we were reproducing the model, I actually investigated about beads, and very lucky, for many years there's been a big bead wholesaler in Cornwall, not far from my home. Unfortunately, they have now closed down, or on the verge of closing down. I think they're just running their stock out. COVID's hit a lot of businesses in the UK. But anyway, we were very fortunate to have this bead store very close to where we live. So I was able to chat to them about beads. And what we found was when we were stitching the model on 46 count linen, the smallest of beads would just not fit in the space on the motif of the house. And we've tried beads of different shapes, rounded beads, delicates, just to see if a slightly different shape would work, but they would not. So we made a decision to stitch the windows slightly differently. Now, we thought about the windows in this house, and we believe the use of beads in these windows was to either reflect stained glass windows or to show the sunlight glinting off the windows. So we decided to stitch the windows with a metallic thread to achieve visually the effect that Hannah was trying to achieve. Now, if you stitch Hannah Campbell on 40 count or 36 count, you will probably be able to stitch beads in place of the where the metallic thread was used in these windows, and just slightly on that flower head. Gosh, this sampler, you could look at it all day, every day, and notice something new each time. So, so pretty. This cartouche and this alphabet is very reminiscent of Quaker samplers in Ireland. But unfortunately, even though Hannah has given us quite a bit of information, she tells us that she's Hannah Campbell from Ballypaladdy, and she stitched her sampler, or finished her sampler, on August the 12th, 1838. Now, Ballypaladdy is not a big area. You would think that you could find this little girl, but the records just aren't there. The baptismal marriage records, they just aren't available for us to research. We did find a Hugh Campbell at Ballypaladdy in a tithe record, and it could well be that that was Hannah's father or brother, but we just don't know. The verse that Hannah chose, sweet courtesy and winning smiles, manners mild and void of art, these are love's engaging wiles, these are those which win the heart. Such a pretty verse. Oh gosh, and you look at this heart and you look at the beautiful colours in this heart. The colours make your mouth water, they really, really do. Gorgeous band of diamonds made up of eyelets there. So, so pretty. Hannah put a lot of effort into her sampler. Look at this beautiful band. So, so pretty. I can never decide whether it's the top part, the bottom part, or the middle part I love the best on this sampler. I think the truth of it is I just love every single element of this sampler. I saw the sampler come up for sale before COVID actually, and I knew I wanted it. What I didn't know was I was bidding against one of my best friends, but I was absolutely determined to get this sampler. I wanted a really good Irish sampler for the Hands Across the Sea Samplers portfolio. We try to have a breadth to our portfolio of samplers available to stitch. So the bidding was very fierce on this sampler, and it came, and Melissa saw me show this on Flosstube, and that was it, she wanted to stitch it, and we were very pleased for Melissa to stitch it. But because at this stage COVID had broken out, and this sort of like iron curtain came down and we were trapped in our houses, it was very, very difficult to get the linen for the sampler to be stitched on. So, and to get the linen to Melissa. So Melissa had a piece of vintage sand dune, which was a really, it wasn't a perfect match to the original, but it was a jolly good linen for us to use. So we were very grateful for Melissa helping us out from her stash. Today, if we were going to be stitching that model again, we may have used a slightly different linen. And the colours that I have been thinking about to recommend would be this lovely Muddy Duck from Tabby Cat Linen. That's quite a good match to the original. It's picking up, you know, those warm gold autumnal tones very, very well. Muddy Duck is a flat colour. It's not a grungy colour, from Tabby Cat Linen. And then the other linen that's a possibility for this sampler is Just the Ticket, which again is an over-dyed linen, but it's not a grungy one. Now, I go through Just the Ticket. I burn through it at an horrendous rate. I only had a full yard about 4 weeks ago. This is all I've got left. Now, this is 56 count. In a lower count, this will be a deeper colour. So this is a possibility for Hannah as well. Two options for you to look into. And I do know that, stores will have their own recommendations for you as to linen choice. Now, there is a stitch along on Facebook for Hannah, and that's being run by Sherry, who is the most amazing stitch along leader. Now, this Facebook group originally started for Jane Fiddis, and then it went to Eliza Martha Linfoot. And when we were looking for the next sample, I showed Sherry a selection, and the moment she saw Hannah, she just fell head over heels in love with her. We had to wait a little while for all the supplies, or the silk supplies, to hit the distributors. And basically with Soie 103 and Soie d'Alger from Auvera Soie, needleworkers, you are going through that silk faster than production can keep up. And we just had to wait for all those silks to be available, which they now are. Hannah is on general release. You can go to any needlework store around the world and they will be able to access this chart from our 2 distributors and from ourselves. But the sponsoring stores for the stitch along are the Attic Needleworks in Phoenix, Acorn and Threads in, I believe, Portland. I'm sorry, Janine, if I've got that wrong. Traditional Stitches in Canada, Needle in a Haystack in California, and A Stitch in Time in Tasmania. Those stores have got the kits in for you to start on Hannah. On my website, you can buy the booklets, or you can buy a PDF download. We're actually well into our second print run on Hannah, and I think that next week we're going to have to order a third one. Thank you all so much. You really are amazing. Your support for Hands Across the Sea Samplers, we're very, very grateful for that. The sponsoring stores do have access to a fob that Minnie McBeans is making especially for Hannah Campbell, and you will need to check with those stores about who qualifies for those fobs, but I believe it's if you buy the kit, the full kit from them. Okay, so with Hannah, her stitch count is 233 stitches by 289 stitches, and she uses 18 colours. When you look at this sampler, you would think there could easily be about 25 plus in there, but it's just 18, and she uses them so beautifully. The stitches are predominantly cross stitch over 2, but there is eyelets over 1 in the cartouche, and the little birds in the trees. She also used Algerian eyelets, and she used rice stitch for the facade of the house. It's a very beautiful sampler, and we really hope that you enjoy her. Okay, so what else have I got to talk about? Well, quite a bit actually. The reason I'm doing the Flosstube on Saturday is that this Easter bank holiday, we have a family wedding. So we're off tomorrow to Somerset, and we've got a wedding on Monday. If we didn't have the wedding this weekend, I would have released some more wooden products, but I can't do that because I'm not here to post and pack them and ship them off. But in the week ahead, I will be having some really beautiful wooden products up for sale on my website. So keep an eye out on Instagram and Facebook. When those products are available, I will post on there, and then you'll be able to purchase them from the Hands Across the Sea Samplers website. On Monday, I believe, registration opens for Bristol 3 at the Attic Needleworks. I've had a few emails since Jean announced that in the newsletter, asking if I am presenting at the weekend. I'm not part of the faculty, but I will be releasing a sampler that weekend. I will stand up and just talk about it for 5 minutes, but I'm not actually part of the faculty that weekend. I'll be back teaching at the Attic at the Sampler Symposium in January. And we've got some fabulous projects for that special event next year. So looking forward to it. The sampler that I will be releasing at the Bristol weekend, it will be on general release, is this little one stitched by a boy. This sampler was stitched by Oscar Topsfield, and it says E.R. Edward Rex, the King, 1904, and it says, "A Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you all. When this you see, remember me when I am far away from thee. To mother and father from Oscar." Now, we know that this was Oscar Topsfield and that he was attending a naval school. We know a lot about him, and I can't wait to share that with everybody. We decided to have a few little extra things with this chart, and in the Navy, in navies around the world, but in particular in the Royal Navy in the 1800s, it was a tradition for sailors to embroider pincushions to send home as a reminder of them and their love for their family. So we decided to take two elements of Oscar's message to his parents and make some pincushions. They're not sweetheart cushions, because Oscar wasn't sending them home to a wife or a girlfriend. He was sending this home to his parents. So we decided not to do hearts. So we did, "When this you see, remember me when I am far away from thee. And this is a little mattress pin cushion. And then the other little pin cushion we made was a Christmas message. And it's a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you all. So this will be releasing at Bristol 3, and Jean will have kits there for people who would like to stitch the sampler and the pin cushions. Very, very pleased with this. You can't have enough pin cushions. I've added some more pin cushions to my collection. A little while ago, I showed this beautiful pin cushion by Ginny, and it's Ginny's hand embroidery, and Ginny has an Etsy store. There we are, you'll be able to freeze the screen and jot those details down. Now, this pin cushion was a gift, and it was just an amazing gift to receive. I wanted to buy some more of Ginny's pin cushions, but she'd sold out. I mentioned this on Flosstube and she just sold out. So I've been continually watching her store, and about 2 weeks ago, she had some more pin cushions on her store. So I bought two, one for me and one for a friend. So I'm not going to show the friend's one because it's a present for that friend for an occasion throughout this year. But I got this beautiful red one. Isn't that gorgeous? Ginny's work is so beautiful. It really, really is very, very beautiful. But these are fabulous for your stitching table, but I've actually ended up keeping this on my dressing table. It's so, so pretty. Gorgeous shade of red. And this was lovely on Ginny's site. It's not just pin cushions that she embroiders. She embroiders everything and anything. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful workmanship? And this is a little, I suppose it's a tablet holder, but I thought it'd be rather lovely to put some beads in there. Very, very pretty. Go along, have a look at Ginny's site. She has some really beautiful things. If my hair was longer, I would certainly, oh sorry, that's the wrong one. I would certainly purchase the hair barrettes that she's got. That's for sure. I think embroidery and stitching is such a big part of my life that I love to wear it. Anyway, I received another pin cushion, and this was just such a wonderful, wonderful surprise. This is the pin cushion. It's in a little shaker box, and it's made by John and Elaine. There's their details, so you can freeze the screen. Now, this was a gift that was sent to me by a needleworker, and I was so surprised and touched when I received it. So, so beautiful. It's The Strawberry Thief by William Morris. There was a lovely card that came with this, and I have had a lot of cards come in the last 2 weeks from the red box. Thank you so much. I really hope I can get to 600 cards by the end of August. Basically, if you didn't know, in the red box there were a pack of greeting cards, and in my card to each needleworker, I made a request that if they would write to me by the end of the summer telling me a little bit about themselves. I'm not going to give any names with cards, but the lady says that she's a relatively new stitcher, and I'm self-taught using YouTube, and I began my stitching journey in February 2022. Video searches quickly started displaying Flosstube results, and I was amazed at all the beautiful work. I worked my way from Ada to linen pretty quickly, and am now comfortable on 46 count. which I'm using to stitch Lucy Barber. And she chose the Lucy Barber card to send to me. Lucy Barber is the exclusive or limited edition and stitch along for traditional stitches. I work for HR for the federal government, and my job can be very stressful. Stitching in the evenings has been a great way to unwind. That's exactly what I used to do when I had my professional career as well. I have more charts already than I can possibly stitch in a lifetime, as I want to stitch them all. We all know that feeling. One of the reasons your collection will bring back memories for me is I lived and visited many of the countries. I was born in a country in Europe, and my father was in the US Air Force and was stationed there. When I was 13, we were in Greece for 1 year just outside Athens, and we were stationed in the UK for 2 years. During the move from Greece to England, we took the summer as a holiday and drove so we could spend time in Italy and Germany. My husband and I honeymooned in Rome, and we spent my 50th birthday in Paris. So as you can see, I have a flood of wonderful recollections while stitching letters from Europe, and I will start when I get my fabric from Tabby Cat. Honestly, I had so much joy reading this letter. It was just beautiful. And the lady enclosed a birthday gift. And honestly, I don't expect anybody to send me gifts. I just would love to have a letter from you telling me about yourself. But it was very, very nice to open. The tomato pincushion was made by a local artisan here in New Hampshire. I have a sewing box lined with this same fabric, William Morris Strawberry Thief in teal, and I adore it. I thought the teal was a nice compliment to your Louboutin red, and I hope you enjoy it as a small piece of where I live. Enjoy it, I absolutely adore it, and this has already got a space on my stitching table, and now I've shown it, I'm going to start to use it. Thank you so much. Do you know, getting these cards is the best bit about my birthday. I'm not going to read them all every week. I'm going to try and spread them out over the weeks so that you can enjoy them as well. But the one thing that I've learned from reading other people's needlework stories is we all share the same story. And this is why when needleworkers get together, even if we've never met before, we have so much in common, so much to talk about. So thank you so much to the lady who sent this card and that gift. I'm going to read one more card this week, and then I shall do some more next week. This time the card was Sarah Milthorpe, and the lady says, I'm typing this as my arthritic hands keep me from handwriting. I'm saving my fingers for stitching instead. Very wise. I was so pleased and thrilled to receive your red birthday box. The contents were packaged very artfully and thoughtfully, and I'm about 3 pages through the Greek sampler at this writing. I've enclosed a few photos that you might enjoy. And one of those are a photograph of their Tibetan terrier, and he is absolutely adorable. Look at that. Who could fail to adore a face like that? That beautiful wet nose. Oh, gorgeous. I showed this to Bertie Boo and Hugo, but they didn't really cotton on. That was lovely. And one photograph you will recognise as Esther Benson. Not Esther Benson, Esther Blackwood. Here we are. And that is a sampler that she stitched and is framed, and it's hanging in her home. And then the third photograph enclosed, and this really touched me, is some surface embroidery. Here we go. Look how pretty that is. Now I lay down to sleep, I pray the Lord my soul will keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. That was a childhood prayer of mine that my mother used to say to us, or make us say every night. And there is a little child praying and an angel, and we've got some lambs and some more angels, and then we've got a little face of a child. That's so beautiful. I'll just tell you the story behind that. Her mother passed away 3 years ago at the age of 92, and we found this piece rolled up in an old newspaper in our attic. We don't know if it's her stitching or not, and she marvels at the tiny, oh so neat French knots. Thank you so much for sharing those photographs with me. I got so much joy looking at them and reading your letter. All the cards and the enclosures that was a lucky catch, are going into a little treasure casket that I've got. It's a memory casket, and they will bring me much pleasure for the rest of my life, these cards. So thank you so much. Do you know, people's kindnesses, I'm always overwhelmed by how kind people are. I received a little gift last weekend. One of the ladies at the event we attended brought in some old samplers, some antique samplers to show me. And she had a few bookmarks stitched on perforated paper. And there was one bookmark which I just felt a really strong connection to it, and it really meant a lot to me. And I said to her, I said, if I saw that, I would have bought it. And it says, though absent, ever dear. And that's so true. People live on in your hearts. But the other thing is that even if somebody doesn't have to have died for this to be applicable. I have so many friends from around the world that, I might only see them every few years. But although they are absent in person, my friends are ever dear to me. And she gave this to me. That was just so kind of her. I think that little sentiment needs to be stitched into a sampler or onto a pincushion. Are you going to come and make my shirt dirty? Are you going to slobber on me? I expect you will, won't you? He's getting so grey. His muzzle is going grey rapidly. That worries me. Stitching wise, I took a little project with me, a travel project for the weekend, and I didn't finish it at the weekend because too much talking was going on, but I did finish it when I got home. It's a proverb sampler. We've got waste not, want not. We've got another one of these in our collection, but you can never have too many red samplers, especially with such a meaningful proverb. And it's got one of my favourite verses, remember thy Creator in the days of thy youth. It was stitched by Elizabeth Hull. I loved how her capitals were smaller than her lowercase alphabet. She gave us her date of birth, May the 13th, 1863. But there are 8 Elizabeth Hills in family history records that were born in 1863. And unfortunately, unless I send away for every single birth certificate, I can't find out which girl this is. And of course, her real name might be something like Elizabeth Ann Hull. And that if you sort of factor in a middle name, there becomes hundreds of little girls. Such a shame. But I really enjoyed stitching that sample. It was such an easy stitch. Before I went to the Cross Stitch Guild, I worked some more on my big red sampler. Not a lot more because I've been busy writing booklets at the moment, but you can see this beautiful band is progressing here. I shall be spending some time stitching on this one tonight, and then again it has to be put down whilst we go away for the wedding. There always seems to be something at the moment that distracts me from stitching. But I've just, oh, you have dirtied my shirt. I thought you would, but does it matter? No, it doesn't. Shirts can be washed. What was I going to say? Oh, I've been writing a lot lately. It's funny, sometimes you're in the mood to chart, sometimes you're in the mood to stitch, and sometimes you're in the mood to research. We'll have a few samplers coming out soon that have got some really interesting backstories. Yesterday I finished writing a booklet from the needleworker was born in 1787. That is such a long time ago, and her story was one of having a child out of wedlock, but she has a happy story, a happy ending, which was nice. Okay, Bertie, Mummy better go and put a clean shirt on and get this one in the wash. And then we better take you out for a walk, because that's what you want, isn't it? It's a beautiful day outside, and the dogs want to be out, and I don't blame them. I'd like to be out as well. Okay, thank you for listening to me, and a huge thank you to Melissa for stitching Hannah Campbell. She is just a stunning, stunning sampler, and I'm so pleased that so many people feel the same way about her as I do. Okay, bye-bye.